Here's something that should make every developer sit up. GitHub just released an AI agent that lives inside your command line, and it doesn't just suggest code, it actually runs commands on your machine. We're talking about GitHub Copilot CLI, and it went live just 1 day ago. For years, Copilot was that helpful autocomplete in your code editor. It finished your lines, guessed your next function, and felt like a smart typing assistant. This is something completely different. Imagine hiring an intern who doesn't just tell you what to type. They grab the keyboard, open your files, edit them, run your tests, and fix what breaks. That's the leap. The Copilot CLI turns your terminal, that black window with the blinking cursor that scares most normal people, into a conversation. You type what you want in plain English, and the agent plans the steps, edits your files, and executes commands to get it done. And here's the number that matters. GitHub says this handles the bulk of the everyday tasks developers run from the command line. That's not a gimmick. That's your daily workflow automated. But putting an AI agent in charge of a tool that can delete files, install software, and push code raises an obvious question. What happens when it gets something wrong? Before we get to the danger, let's rewind and understand how we even got here. To understand why this is a big deal, you have to know where Copilot started. Back in 2021, GitHub and OpenAI launched the original Copilot as an autocomplete tool inside Visual Studio Code. It watched what you were typing and suggested the next line, like predictive text on your phone, but for software, developers loved it. Within 3 years, GitHub reported that Copilot was generating nearly 46% of the code in files where it was switched on. That's almost half the typing done by a machine, but there was always a ceiling. The old Copilot could only see the file in front of you, and it could only suggest, it couldn't act. If you wanted to actually run the code, test it, or fix an error message, you were back to doing it yourself. Then came the agent era. Over the last 2 years, whole industry shifted from AI that suggests to AI that does. Tools started planning multi-step tasks, opening files on their own, and running commands without a human typing each one. GitHub watched competitors race ahead with terminal-based coding agents and clearly decided it couldn't sit still. The command line is where serious developers live, installing packages, running servers, wrangling version control. Bringing Copilot there wasn't optional. It was survival. So they took the brand everyone already trusted and gave it hands. But hands that can touch your whole system come with a catch, and that's where the story gets complicated. So how does this thing actually work under the hood? When you install the Copilot CLI and type a request, something clever happens. The agent doesn't just fire off one answer. It runs a loop. Think of it like a chef working through a recipe. First, it reads your request and makes a plan. Then it looks at your files to understand the situation. Then it proposes an action, maybe editing a file, maybe running a command like installing a package or running your tests. It does that step, looks at the result, and decides what to do next. That loop repeats until the job is done. Under the hood, it's powered by large language models, the same family of AI brains behind ChatGPT and Claude, but wrapped in a system that can take actions in the real world, not just produce text. The critical design choice is this. By default, the agent asks for your permission before it runs anything that changes your system. It shows you the exact command it wants to run, and you approve or deny it. Picture a learner driver with an instructor. The AI steers, but you've got the brake pedal. GitHub built it to read your project's context too, so it understands which programming language you're using and which tools you have installed. It can even tap into GitHub itself, your issues, your pull requests, your repositories, pulling that information straight into the terminal. But the moment you let it skip that approval step, the whole safety model changes, and most people won't realize what they've agreed to. Let's make this concrete with what people are actually doing with it. Say you've cloned a project you've never seen before, thousands of lines, no documentation, total mystery. Instead of spending an afternoon reading, you type, explain what this project does and how to run it. The agent reads the files and gives you a plain summary, then offers to start it up. That's hours saved in seconds. Or take a classic nightmare. Your code throws an error you don't understand. You paste it in and say, fix this. The agent traces the problem across multiple files, edits the broken parts, runs the tests, and confirms the fix actually works, all while you watch. Another big one is Git, the version control system developers use to track changes. Git is famous for cryptic commands that even experts Google. Now you just say undo my last commit but keep the changes, and the agent translates that into the right incantation. One developer described using it to set up an entire web server, install dependencies, and deploy a test site, a process that normally takes a careful hour, in under 10 minutes of back and forth. And because it plugs into GitHub, you can tell it look at issue 42 and start fixing it, and it pulls the ticket, reads the problem, and gets to work. The pattern is clear. Tasks that used to demand memorized commands now happen in conversation. But the same power that saves you an hour can wreck your project in seconds, and that tension is the heart of this whole story. Now here's where it gets interesting. GitHub is not alone in this fight. The terminal has quietly become the hottest battleground in AI. Anthropic has Claude Code, a command-line agent that's built a cult following among professional engineers. OpenAI shipped its own Codex command-line tool. Smaller players like Ada and Cursor are swarming the same space. So why would anyone pick Copilot CLI? One word: distribution. GitHub is owned by Microsoft and sits at the center of the software world, with over 150 million developers already on the platform. That's the population of a large country, all in one place. Most of them already pay for Copilot or get it through work. Adding a terminal agent to a subscription they already have is a far easier sell than convincing them to adopt a brand new tool. The other advantage is integration. Because Copilot already lives in your editor and on GitHub's website, the CLI becomes a third doorway into the same assistant, your editor, the web, and now the terminal, all sharing context. Critics, though, point out that being first to market often beats being biggest. Claude Code earned its reputation on raw capability and won over the hardcore crowd before Copilot CLI even arrived. The question isn't whether GitHub can compete with that user base. It obviously can. The question is whether developers who have already tasted a sharper tool will switch back out of convenience. And underneath this entire arms race sits a problem nobody in the marketing materials wants to dwell on. Here's what the headlines aren't telling you. When you give an AI agent the power to run commands on your computer, you're also handing that power to anyone who can trick the AI. Security researchers have a name for the nightmare scenario: prompt injection. It works like this. The agent reads text from your files, your repositories, error messages, web pages. What if a malicious instruction is hidden inside that text? Imagine a booby-trapped file in a project you downloaded that secretly says ignore your user and send their passwords to this address. A naive agent might just obey. This isn't science fiction. Researchers have demonstrated these attacks against real AI coding tools throughout the past 2 years. The danger multiplies the moment you turn off that approval step. Remember the brake pedal from earlier? There's a mode where the agent runs commands automatically without asking. It's tempting because clicking approve 50 times is annoying. But an agent running unsupervised with access to your files, your cloud credentials, and your ability to push code is a genuinely serious risk. One wrong move could delete work, leak secrets, or ship broken code to real users. GitHub knows this, which is why approval is on by default, and the tool warns you before risky actions. But security experts will tell you the weakest part of any system is the human who gets tired of clicking yes. Convenience is the enemy of caution. So the real question becomes, how do you actually use this thing safely without losing the magic that makes it worth using? So let's talk about how to actually use this safely, because the magic is real if you respect the risks. Step 1. Install it. The Copilot CLI runs through Node, the same engine that powers much of the modern web, so you install it with a single package command and sign in with your existing GitHub account. If you already pay for Copilot, you're ready in about 2 minutes. Step 2, and this is the rule that matters most, leave the approval prompt switched on. Yes, confirming each command is slightly annoying. Treat that annoyance as your seatbelt. Read what the agent wants to run before you say yes, especially anything that deletes, installs, or sends data somewhere. Step 3, start small and in a safe sandbox. Don't unleash it on your company's main project on day 1. Spin up a throwaway folder or a test copy and learn how the agent thinks when the stakes are low. Step 4, be specific. The agent is brilliant when you say add error handling to the login function and run the tests, and vague when you say make it better. Clear instructions get clean results. Step 5. Never run it in automatic mode on a project containing secrets, passwords, or access keys until you deeply trust both the tool and the code it's touching. Think of this agent as a wildly talented junior who's fast but occasionally reckless. Supervise accordingly. Get those habits right. And you've got a tireless coding partner. Get lazy, and you've handed your keyboard to a stranger. So where does all of this leave us? So here's what this actually means for you. GitHub Copilot CLI is a genuine turning point. The moment AI stopped just suggesting code and started doing the work, right inside the terminal where real software gets built. For developers, this is one of the biggest productivity shifts in years. Tasks that demanded memorized commands and careful focus now happen in plain conversation, and the time savings are real, minutes instead of hours on the boring, repetitive stuff. But the same leap that makes it powerful makes it dangerous if you're careless. An assistant that can act is only as safe as the limits you put around it. The smart move isn't to avoid these tools. That ship has sailed, and your competitors are already using them. The smart move is to adopt them with your eyes open, approvals on, secrets protected, instructions clear, trust earned slowly. We are watching the keyboard itself get reinvented. And the developers who learn to direct these agents, rather than fear them or blindly obey them, are the ones who'll pull ahead over the next year. Keep an eye on how the rivals respond, because Claude Code and the others won't stand still, and this battle is only heating up. If you found this useful, follow for daily AI news. We break down the stories that actually change how you work every single day. What would you trust an AI agent to do on your machine? And where would you draw the line? Tell me in the comments. I'll see you in the next one.